Joining me now is Sky News contributor and regular Daily Telegraph columnist Joe Hildebrand. Joe, welcome to Inside the News.
Wonderful to be here, James. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's great to have you with us because you have written in today's Daily Telegraph about what you call the most bizarre racism scandal in human history. And I heard about this, and at first I thought that it was about racist trains and trains being racist, and I thought maybe Thomas the Tank Engine had been, hanging out on the wrong websites and picked up some off-color jokes. What is going on? And obviously the Greens are involved. Just walk us through it.
Oh, Bill, thank you very much. Look, I know that the field of most ridiculous racism scandal ever is a very hotly contested one. But we've heard about racism on buses, but now we've actually got racism on buses. So what happened was Joe Hildebrand, who's a left-wing Labor MP for the state New South Wales state seat of Summerhill, posted very innocuously on Twitter saying, look, we've got the entire Inner West light rail line overseas built completely out of commission for a year and a half because of structural problems, cracks in the trams that have had to be taken off. Can we just get these trams, get other rolling stock and other infrastructure built in Australia? And the Newtown Greens MP, a Newtown, for your listeners who don't know, is the
I think we've got a tweet from them that we can show, yeah.
Yes, please do. Please do. You can see that. But it's like Fortitude Valley in Brisbane or Northcote in Melbourne. So this is Joe Hildebrand's tweet. Once again, the government's overseas-built transport infrastructure has broken down and failed passengers. Now, most of us would struggle to find what is offensive about that, but it's the overseas part, apparently, that Newtown Greens MP Jenny Leong took offence to. She said, hey, can we stop, hey, New South Wales MP, ALP, perhaps focus on the issues with privatised transport infrastructure. I'm not sure when the government has actually been building these trains in the past. But anyway, rather than using the old overseas line that stokes the flames of Aussie nationalism. So apparently just asking for things to be built in Australia is in itself stoking the flames of Aussie nationalism and, shall we say, to use the pejorative woke term, problematic.
But Joe, hang on. Yes. Let's go back to what we're talking about here. We've got an entire Inner West tram system that has been taken offline now. And I mean, look, I live in that area and people love the light rail because, it's light rail and sustainable and it's green and all of this stuff. But they've lost it now for 18 months. I mean,
that's right.
I don't care what color politics you are. That's a pretty big screw up in my book.
It's a massive screw up. And look, it's a screw up that both parties, both Liberal and Labor, can take some share of the blame in. But yes, it is enormous. Like these trams, every single tram has had to be taken off these tracks because every single tram has cracks in it. And of course, these trams were built overseas. And the Labor Party in New South Wales is trying to say, well, listen, at least if we have them built here, we can say to the manufacturer, right, you've got to do this. There's going to be brand awareness in their thinking. So they're going to be thinking, well, we don't want to be the Australian manufacturer that screwed up so many Australian commuters' lives.
And also, just from a practical point of view, like this isn't like sending a shirt back, to some other country when it was the wrong size. You're talking about big, heavy trams. The logistics of this, just doing it here would seem to make a lot more sense to me.
That's exactly right. So you have, for example, these multinational corporations which build, I'm sounding like a green myself, multinational corporations, but you have these huge multinational companies that build huge numbers of trains and trams and carriages. And of course, they build them at a single kind of scale. So they build them, in a single way, and people will buy them, as they say, off the shelf. And when they tender for government contracts, they will say, look, well, here's one we prepared earlier, as we say in morning television. And the government will think, holy moly, that's so cheap. You've got these economies of scale. We'll just take that and we'll stick it on our tracks. And what has happened in the case of the Inner West line, it seems, is that these trams are not built to either A, go fast, or B, go around corners. And so you get to this point where these off-the-shelf models are actually not fit for purpose. And the thinking is that, well, if you actually had an Australian company with a bit of skin in the game that didn't have a huge number of contracts all around the world that it could just fall back on, they would actually say, oh, all right, we'll build these products for the circumstances necessary, instead of having one state government in what Paul Keating called the arse end of the world, railing at a multinational that doesn't actually care that much and says, well, we've still got trams in the UK or America or Canada or South Africa, wherever it may be. Why should we pay attention to this annoying little gnat of a state government that's trying to tell us we did the wrong thing? You want us to fix this? Give us an extra $1 billion.
Yeah.
And that's the problem we're facing at the moment.